So there's this idea complicated idea that you have to pull out of multiple sources, that the capacity to pay attention and the capacity to speak truthfully takes chaos and transforms it into order, into cosmos, and that order is good. And so that's the second part of the proposition. It's very interesting. It's a daring proposition. The first proposition is something like consciousness, communicative consciousness, interacts with the underlying chaotic structure of reality and brings existence into being. Now, we don't really know if that's true. There are physicists who suspect that it's true, who suspect that without consciousness, whatever consciousness is, there'd be nothing but something like a vague potential, that it requires consciousness to bring structure to that potential, to make existence exist. And people argue about that. No one's exactly sure what it means, but, well, and it's definitely an open question. For example, an open question of what it is that could exist if there was nothing conscious of its existence. Now, existence seems to be one of those things that requires consciousness to be. It's like no consciousness. Well, what is there? Well, it's not possible to answer. There's no duration, there's no size, there's no quality, there's nothing. And it's a mystery. I'm not saying it's a mystery we understand, but implicit in the idea of existence, consciousness seems to be implicit in the idea of existence. And it does seem that we're conscious. And so, consciousness interacts with chaos to produce order. And if it's truthful and attentive consciousness, then the order it produces from chaos is good. That's the next proposition. And that's a daring proposition. It's an ethical proposition. So the first proposition in Genesis is like an ontological or epistemological proposition. It's sort of about the nature of reality. But the second is an ethical proposition. And it's a really interesting one. And I think this is, I don't know if there's a more interesting question that you can ask yourself. It's like, because the proposition is that what you bring into the world when you interact with chaos, what is brought into the world in the interaction with chaos as a consequence of truth, if that's what's embodied in the logos, is by definition good. And so one of the things I've been suggesting to my audiences, it's one of the rules in my book, is that you should tell the truth, or at least you shouldn't lie. It's like, you can't tell the truth because what the hell do you know? But you cannot lie. Like each of us knows when we're about to utter something that isn't true. Now, sometimes maybe you're confused about it because you're ignorant and you're biased, and so you say something and it might be true and it might not be, but you're not clear about it. But sometimes it's pretty damn clear that you say something or you do something that you know perfectly well not to be true, and you do it anyways. And the proposition that Genesis puts forward is, if you act in truth, then the order you produce is good, regardless of how it appears. It's an axiomatic statement of it's an axiomatic ethical proposition that the job of whatever extracts order from chaos is properly done if it's done in truth.